How's it going, everybody? This is Catfish on Ice, brand new episode here coming to you as we just got done watching the Nashville Predators play their first game of the 2022-23 season, and they didn't disappoint. They came off a little sluggish. They did score that initial goal from Kiefer Sherwood, but then the San Jose Sharks kind of settled in a little bit and started making things interesting. This is your host, Chad Minton, here for Catfish on Ice podcast, brought to you by DraftKings, part of the Hockey Podcast Network, as we're giving you instant reaction here from the Nashville Predators, getting a 4-1 season opening win over the San Jose Sharks at the NHL Global Series in Prague, Czech Republic. Really fun game to watch. It was, I would have to say, it was a little closer than maybe what the final score indicates, especially early on. That first period was a close one. I mean, yes, the Nashville Predators got that quick initial goal to make it 1-0 from Kiefer Sherwood. First of all, if you had Kiefer Sherwood on your bingo card to score the first goal of the Nashville Predators season, then you need to also go play the lottery tonight. You need to start making all the predictions, because no one saw that coming, most likely. One of the big surprises out of training camp is Kiefer Sherwood, and he scores what I would just call a very hardworking goal. He was battling on the boards. He was getting possession for his line mates, and then he ends up crashing the net, finding a loose puck. And it wasn't the prettiest of goals. It's not a goal that you're going to see all over the highlight reels and the top plays and all that stuff, but it still counts as a goal, and it's the first goal of the season for the Predators. And really happy for Kiefer Sherwood, because he was an under-the-radar pickup over the offseason. No one was really talking about it, and he ends up delivering with that big-time goal to break the ice and get the Predators on the board. But the San Jose Sharks, they weren't messing around early on. First of all, let's talk about this matchup on paper before we get too ahead of ourselves here. The Predators did exactly what they should have done in this game today, which is beat the San Jose Sharks, a team that they're way better than on paper. And that's what they did. Didn't start off, even though Sherwood scores this early goal, it didn't start off that way. The Sharks pushed back. Tomas Hertl in his hometown, which is a great story, such an awesome story. You love to see that. Ties the game at 1-1 with what was the remnants of a Preds penalty kill that expired, but the puck was loose. Saros is scrambling in the crease, and Tomas Hertl has an open net and slams it home, gets a goal in his hometown. Great story. But at that point in the game, the Sharks actually had some control, and we had to see if UC Saros was shaking the rust off quickly. And to his credit, he did that, because the Predators took another penalty not too long after the Sharks tied it, and Saros had to flash his pad a couple times to keep the Sharks from taking a 2-1 lead, which is basically the turning point of that entire game. Saros had to come up really, really clutch on the Preds penalty kill a couple times there to keep this game close. And then eventually the personnel on the Preds, the superior roster that the Predators have over a rebuilding Sharks team, took over, and you saw the Predators take over on the scoreboard. In that second period, the Predators really seized control of this game. 15 shots to 9 shots to the Sharks in the second period kind of gives you a little bit of an illustration there. But Eeli Tolvanen gets the second goal of the game for the Predators with just a sniper of a goal. Seemingly a play that looked very not dangerous at all if you're watching it from a Sharks perspective. The puck kind of enters the zone, but there's not really anything set up. And Tolvanen, with his ability that we all know about, we've been waiting to see more of, He just kind of picks a spot right above Reimer's shoulder, his left shoulder, hits it top corner of the net. Perfectly placed, accurate shot, pinpoint accuracy. And the Predators go up 2-1 suddenly. And you're feeling pretty good about it at that point, because that's kind of when the Predators seized control of this game. You started seeing them get way more sustained pressure in the Shark zone. Saros wasn't under as much pressure as you saw in the first period, and it started looking a lot better. As you're seeing there at the bottom of the screen, ultimately the Preds get goals from Sherwood, Tolvanen, Nino Niederreiter in his Preds debut gets a goal. We're going to talk a little bit more about that goal as well. And then kind of in garbage time, but still counts, in the last minute of the game, Matt Duchene gets a goal. So all around, when the game gets in its entirety, the Preds take care of business, quote unquote, and they do what they're supposed to do. They beat a Sharks team that has very, very little preseason expectations. I know the Sharks players won't tell you that. Every team believes they can win. But from the outside perspective, the Sharks are not expected to be a very strong playoff contender this year. And whereas the Predators, they had a pretty busy offseason, if you've been paying attention, obviously. And the expectations coming out of the preseason are higher for the Predators than they've probably been, I would say, since 2019, if that's fair to say, since the season they were going into when they won the President's Trophy and lost to the Winnipeg Jets in the second round. Very heartbreaking. And they were going into that following season, 2018-19. You still felt like the Predators were a legitimate contender and whatnot. And they went into that postseason against the Dallas Stars in the first round. You felt like they were favorites. Our sights were set on what will they do in the second round and in the conference finals, not about the first round. And then what do you know? The Dallas Stars take them out in 6 games. And it's been all downhill since then. So since that, I haven't felt this high of confidence in a Predators team going into the season as I do now. So coming into this game against the San Jose Sharks, first of all, hockey never happens as scripted. You can look at the rosters on paper and stack them against each other. And okay, upsets happen all the time. This isn't college football where it's number 1 Alabama going up against Western Carolina or an FCS school. No offense to any of those teams, but it's just different. Any team can beat any team on any given day, especially the first game of the season. But on paper, you felt like the Predators should win this game, and that's what they did. So credit to them for that. They settled down. They played their game. They played a smart game. I felt like after we got through that second period and the Predators really took control of the momentum of the game, that they settled in defensively, and Saros did not get tested very much after that. And that third period might have lulled you to sleep a little bit, but that's okay, because at that point the Predators already had a 3-1 lead, and the Sharks didn't get too many other opportunities after that. The Sharks only put up 9 shots on goal in that third period. The Predators only put up 6. It was a very boring third period, but that's okay when you have a 3-1 lead. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. So the Predators get off to a good start. Just looking over some things, I want to circle back to the Niederreiter goal. First of all, really cool to see Nino Niederreiter score in his Preds debut, but let's give all of the respect and credit that is owed to Dante Fabro for doing things that we just want to see him do more of. He just hasn't evolved into that player yet. That's why he was in trade speculations all offseason. And one game's not going to change that. But that play that he made to get Nino Niederreiter that goal, give me more of that, inject that into my veins. He baited the defender. He baited James Reimer into thinking he was going to shoot. And I would have to go back and really look at the goal really hard. But if memory serves me, short-term memory serves me correctly, he could have probably shot that puck and no one would have blamed him. Probably would have been a routine save for Reimer, and no one would have thought twice about it. But instead, he makes a really smart offensive decision, veteran decision, if you will, to hit a flashing Niederreiter, who Niederreiter's been in that position plenty of times in his career. He knows how to bury goals. And guess what he does? That's exactly what he does. And Reimer has no chance to stop that because it was a great feed from Fabro. Awesome to see that. The defenseman got involved today in the offensive attack for the Nashville Predators. And normally you would say, oh, well, that means Roman Josi probably put up a couple points today. Nope. Not to say Roman Josi had a bad game, but Roman Josi has no points today. Puts up 3 shots on goal, served a couple penalty minutes, had 3 block shots. It's not like he had a bad game, 24 minutes of ice time, but you get your points from defensemen today from Matthias Ekholm, who also took a stick to the face. Glad to see he's okay. Ryan McDonough, another new addition to the team. He gets an assist, gets a point in his first game with the Predators. And then, of course, as I just mentioned, Dante Fabro also gets an assist, a pretty assist on that goal from Nino Niederreiter. So great stuff from the Predators as they settled in. UC Saros, let's talk about him. Makes 30 saves on 31 shots faced in his return to action since that injury. Going into the game, I had 4 X factors, players who I just felt like these players would be key players to this game for winning. Just players that I had circled on my radar. One of them didn't even end up playing today. That was before I found out Jeremy Lauzon was going to get pulled out of the lineup and Mark Borowiecki would get in, which I'm totally okay with, first of all. Have mad respect for Borowiecki. He is a great rotational defenseman. I'll be interested to see how much Borowiecki actually plays this year. How many games does he actually start? Because talking about a 7th defenseman, you got your top 3 defensive pairs. You got your 6 defensemen that you're probably going to play most of the time. Mark Borowiecki is a hell of a 7th player to have to put in there when you need him. So he gets the start, actually, and it kind of surprised a lot of people. It came within the first 30 minutes before puck drops. I'll give Alex Doherty of A to Z Sports credit because he was the first person I came across who shared the news that Jeremy Lauzon was not going to play, and it was going to be Mark Borowiecki. He was one of my 4, but I did have UC Saros as one of my X factors going into this game, and my biggest reason why was, how is he going to look? Because this is his first action, aside from his one preseason game, which he looked pretty good in, but it's preseason. Let's be honest. I wanted to see, is it going to take a period for him to settle in, to shake the rust off? Is he going to give up a soft goal or 2 and possibly put the Preds in a hole? He is human, by the way. No one would fault him for it if that happened. But guess what? I didn't see any rust whatsoever from UC Saros. I did not. The one goal that the Sharks scored from Hertl, come on now. That was just a loose puck bouncing around. It was gangbusters. It was all over in the crease, and Hertl finds the puck, and it's like a equivalent of a slam dunk in hockey for Hertl to score that goal. So Saros, aside from that, basically pitches a shutout in his first game back. So I give UC Saros an A+ in his first game back. A+. Not going to even mess around with grades here and say, oh, I'll give him an A- because he could have done this, could have done. No. Saros gets an A+ for me. He looked really, really good, really sharp in his first game back. Again, 30 saves on 31 shots. He wasn't going up against the Colorado Avalanche by any means. He was going up against the San Jose Sharks, a team that we kind of saw this, honestly, in this game. The Sharks are not a deep team. It's the reason why almost no one has them picked to make the playoffs. They're a team that's fully in a rebuild. Would I call them on the same level as the Coyotes or the Blackhawks is in terms of rebuilds? No, they're maybe slightly better than those teams, but they're way down there. They're way, way, way down there in the Western Conference. You're always going to get surprises throughout the course of an NHL season, and the Sharks do have some decent quality pieces that could maybe take them further than what people expect. But at least going into the season, no one is expecting anything special from the San Jose Sharks. So there's no reason to run around and get too overly amped up over this win. We're just excited because hockey is back. That's what we're doing here in this instant post-game reaction on Catfish on Ice with Chad Minton, your host here. Brought to you by DraftKings, part of the Hockey Podcast Network. Promo code THPN on the DraftKings Sportsbook app with an awesome offer for you NHL fans right now. So go do that. So yes, UC Saros was one of my X factors. Didn't get to play. He got hurt at the end of the last season, and the rest is history. The Preds get swept for the first time in franchise history. No one is saying if Saros plays in that series against the Avalanche last year that the Preds would have won somehow miraculously. No, I don't think they get swept. They at least take it to 5, maybe even 6 games. I think that's how special and how much of a difference Saros maybe could have made in that series. But the point is, coming into this game, it would have been perfectly acceptable and understandable, at least from my perspective, if he would have maybe had a little bit of rust. He didn't show it. He looked very locked in, mid-season form. It's a great thing to see. We're coming with the back-to-back here in this Global Series. They got to turn around and play the Sharks again tomorrow at the same time, same place, from Prague. And we're going to see Kevin Lankinen, who looked really, really good in the preseason. And it's a resurrecting kind of year for Kevin Lankinen, who no one's going to fault him for having a horrible year with the Blackhawks, as that entire team is a mess. So you can't blame him for that. But what can he do? He's trying to resurrect his career, his hockey career. He's a very young goaltender. Very different than the David Rittich situation. David Rittich's a little bit older. Yes, he was also looking to resurrect his NHL career, but Lankinen is a much younger goaltender. He still has starter aspirations in this league. Not to say Rittich doesn't, but it's just a different situation in my eyes. So Lankinen, I feel good about him being the back-to-back starter to Saros in these back-to-backs. And we're going to see it very quickly tomorrow in this Global Series against this same Sharks team. The Predators have a good chance to start the season off fast, 2-0. Then they get a long break to come back to the United States. Then they got to play the Dallas Stars, everybody. I mean, an old friend here. Old friend, Dallas Stars. They get to play them twice. So you're playing 2 teams in the first 4 games of the season. Now, I can promise you the Dallas Stars are going to be a much more worthy adversary than the San Jose Sharks. No offense to the San Jose Sharks fans that might watch this video. Don't take it personally. Your team is rebuilding. It's going to be okay. But the Dallas Stars, that's going to be where the rubber meets the road. We'll see how much this team's ready. Saros opens the season, and he's going to get a 6-day break before he has to really, really be ready against the Dallas Stars on October 13th at home at Bridgestone Arena. And we'll go from there. Dallas Stars, they get themselves Jason Robertson. They finally re-sign him. That was a mess. I wasn't sure. We were all wondering what is going on with Jason Robertson. But he gets re-signed. He makes them instantly a quality team in this division. You got to take them serious. The Stars and the Preds, there's no love lost there. So it's early in the season. We get this, but take care of business against a team you're better than. Do it again. They did it to open the season. The Preds did today. better do it again on Saturday. Open up 2-0. Feel good about yourselves. Coming out of this game, what do I feel like they really need to work on? I mean, it's the same old stuff we were talking about going into the season. Just they almost got themselves into some trouble with some bad penalties to start this game, and Saros, as we know, bailed them out. That's what you have a Vezina goaltender for. But the Sharks could have easily taken the 2-1 lead, and then who knows how the game unfolds after that. But that did not happen, and the Preds take control of the game after that with their talent that supersedes what the Sharks have at their disposal. And then let's talk about real quick before we let you go here. Again, this is Chad Minton, host of Catfish on Ice, doing instant post-game reaction of the Preds season opener against the Sharks as they win 4-1. So yeah, how about Luke Kunin? Let go by the Predators over the offseason. He loves to go to the penalty box, and he went to the penalty box a couple times in this game. That felt kind of nice, because it was like, even though we know the Predators are still going to probably be, if I was a betting man, I would say top 5 in the league, probably in penalties this year. They're still going to be a very highly penalized team. But to at least see that Luke Kunin is also still going to the penalty box with his new team kind of made me feel a little good. I'm not going to lie. Not going to lie about that at all. I don't have any ill will towards Luke Kunin. I think he's a hardworking player. He's very aggressive, and it works to his disadvantage sometimes. But Luke Kunin logged some big minutes. He played on the top line today for the Sharks, which kind of surprised me a little bit. Logged over 21 minutes of ice time for the Sharks today. So Luke Kunin is into a big role for this rebuilding Sharks team, and we saw it right away in his revenge game. I wish all the best to Luke Kunin. I think he's a really good guy, but I'm glad that we're not taking all of his penalties anymore, because we don't need any more, because we have plenty of guys who take penalties on this team already. Matt Benning is on this team now, another player from last season that just wasn't retained by the Predators. He also took a couple penalty minutes in this game, laid out 4 hits, took a block shot, and 15 minutes of ice time. Nick Bonino is a former Nashville Predator. We love Nick Bonino. He's getting towards the end of his career, but he put 4 shots on goal in this game, had a block shot, over 16 minutes of ice time, was also in the faceoff circle, won most of his faceoffs. So Nick Bonino is still a big part of this team as well for the Sharks. You still got Eric Carl. Another moment I want to talk about. Maybe some people don't remember this moment. It was getting towards the end of the game. The Predators were in control, but you had a little bit of a scrum in front of the goaltender, and it looked like the elder statesman that is Erik Karlsson, who I believe is in his he's like at least in his 13th or 14th NHL season. He's been around since 2009. A great defenseman in his own right. He was the 15th overall pick in 2008. So great defenseman. Probably a little past his prime when it comes to trying to start little tussles with Tanner Jeannot. But it kind of looked funny because it looked like he was trying to get under the skin and kind of rough up as a veteran, rough up Tanner Jeannot. Jeannot laughed it off, moved his mask up a little bit, moved his visor up a little bit. But it's like, come on, man. Come on, Erik Karlsson. You probably don't want to be mixing gloves with Tanner Jeannot at this point in your career. So it didn't end up happening. But Mark Borowiecki got in on a brawl today, and that was fun to see. You saw some tweets out there saying, welcome, hockey is back. And it was Mark Borowiecki throwing haymakers out there, which is what we all know him to see. The second episode of Behind the Glass from NHL Network, which is so freaking good, by the way. I'm enjoying the series very, very much. I just got to say, Mark Borowiecki is like, I don't even care if what he brings offensively. I know he doesn't bring much. You really can't measure the value that a player like Mark Borowiecki brings to a team. there's no analytics, there's no stat sheet, you can't measure what he does. And I really, I know that sounds kind of corny and cheesy in a way, but you really can't because, and you saw it kind of in what he talked about in the second episode of Behind the Glass. I mean, first of all, he's bringing awareness to mental health. You're talking about a career path in all professional sports, not just hockey, where we all build these athletes up as these untouchable heroes, just these athletic specimens, almost like robots in a way, and that they don't have emotions, they don't have feelings, they don't go through things. And we just think, oh, they make millions of dollars, so they must be fine. They must be perfect. And it's like, no, these people are also going through their own battles that everyone goes through as humans. And so I can't applaud Mark Borowiecki enough for being a champion of this cause for all these younger players that might be coming into the league, that might be dealing with things, and maybe they're afraid to come out and show weakness, which is what Burrow brought up in the episode. I love the dude. And so when I found out he was playing today, even though I do really want to see what Jeremy Lazan can bring to this team, what I saw from Borowiecki in that episode and what I saw him do today and what I see him do every time he plays, he leaves it all on the ice. He's a mentor to these younger players, and he's a great piece to this Nashville Predators team, and you're going to see that. All the penalty minutes aside that he might bring to the team, we'll live with that. We'll live with that. But so I thought that was awesome to see him play. Overall, feeling very encouraged about this first game of the 2022-23 season. Got 81 more to go, so let's not get too high or too low here on Catfish on Ice. But feeling pretty good about it. This is Chad Minton, your host, brought to you by DraftKings, here with Catfish on Ice podcast, part of Hockey Podcast Network, doing instant reaction to the Preds beating the San Jose Sharks 4-1 to open the season. Good stuff. We will have more to this episode later on, as Rich Howe and Kyle Perkins will join me as well, and we will talk more about it later in the week. It's been fun. Saturday, I should say, the Preds and the Sharks will play again. Got to get off to a quick start. Tweet the show at Catfish Ice on Twitter. Follow us on YouTube. Subscribe. Comment on the live streams. Catch up on past episodes. We always love hearing from you. This is Chad Minton of Catfish on Ice podcast. Thanks for watching. Go Preds. We will see you later on.